Hi everyone! American Idiot is a really fun song to play, and it's pretty beginner friendly as well. However, I wanted to get this video out because I've yet to see a tutorial that shows how to play the part exactly how Billie Joe Armstrong performs it. So let's get learning how to play American Idiot on guitar. The intro and verse riff to American Idiot is deceptively simple. Everyone who teaches it gets the chord progression right, but there is a way of fingering it that will show the logic behind it, and when you're playing it right, it just clicks and it makes sense. So let's start with our first chord, and it's an A flat chord. We'll be referring to these as all flats, not sharps. It's an A flat on the 4th fret of the low string, and then fret 6 and 6 on the A and the D string. So you got a 3-string power chord. Okay, and we're going to go down, up. Now here you want to just release the pressure with your fret hand, and you can get some dead strings, or you can get some open strings too. So you can get some dead sounding ones, or if you release and get some open strings, that's fine too. Okay, and then we're going to move our finger up and get a D flat chord. So we're only going to have a 2-finger power chord now on the 4th fret of the A string, and then our pinky is going to stay put. So this is the logic behind this riff, is that you're going to notice our pinky is never going to leave the D string. It's just going to slide up and down. Okay, so far we have this. Okay, so we're just releasing the pressure, getting those open strings or muted. It can be muted. When the song's up to tempo, it's so fast that it's not going to make a big deal of odds, and it's really just creating a cool sound effect and making it easier to transition chords nice and smooth. So now we're going to repeat that chord with an up, and now with a down we're going to get some more muted or open strings, and then we're going to slide that pinky down and get a G flat power chord. So 2nd fret of the low string and 4 and 4 on the A and the D. So far we have this. Now we're going to get an up on that again, jump up to our D flat chord, 4 and 6, come back down to our starting chord, the A flat, and back down to the G flat. And there's the whole riff. And now when you get that up to speed, it feels really nice. Just having that pinky sliding up and down, that's the way Billie Joe Armstrong performs it, just like that. And it makes it easy for him. He doesn't get lost with hopping up. He can sing the part at the same time that he's playing it. And with that finger guiding him, he never makes an error. Okay, now so you play that once, just like that. And the second time, we play the exact same thing, except instead of going down to that G flat chord on the final hit, we're just going to hit some open strings, and you can snag the top 3 or 4 strings, and it sounds like this. Okay, and then there's your intro riff. Okay, and then we get into the verse, and the verse is the exact same thing, except we split the 2 halves up, but we start with some open strings. So we do on beat 4 going into that riff, just hit some open strings. 1, 2, 3. Okay, same thing, just splitting that riff up into 2 equal halves and preceding those halves with some open strums. Now let's get into the chorus. Thanks for watching the video this far. Just wanted to let you know that if you're enjoying this video, I've got lots more songs that you'll find of interest on my channel, all with complete tab. So hit subscribe and enjoy yourself. The same logic that applied to the verse and intro section applies to the chorus. Again, we're just going to have our pinky sliding up and down the D string. That's not going to change. Okay, so we start our chorus with the D flat chord. So 4 on the A string and 6 on the D string. Okay, and our strum pattern is this: down, down, up, down, up, down, up, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Okay, so 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 2, and 3, and 4, and. So we're going to hold each chord for 2 complete measures. And on the last 8th note, we are going to release the pressure and get some muted or open strings again to facilitate our chord shifts. Okay, so now the second chord is going to be dropping our fingers down to form that A flat chord. Our pinky stays put on the 6th fret of the D string, and then we just move our first finger down to the 4th fret of the low string, pop our 3rd finger down onto the 6th fret, and we do the same rhythm. So with those 2 chords, we have this. Okay, now we slide up to the 6th and 8th frets, 6 on A and 8 on D, and this time he actually puts his pinky down. He kind of mashes his pinky down a little bit. This pinky stays put on that D string, but we lay it down a little bit so that we actually have a 3-string power chord, but he plays it in such a way that he doesn't have to readjust his fingers and then have to readjust them again when he hops down. He just keeps that pinky sliding up and down the D string, and then when he reaches this chord, lay it flat a little bit so that you can hear the 3-string power chord. So we're going to have 6 on the A string and 8 and 8 on the D and the G strings. Same rhythm. And then we're going to go down and back to our A flat with the same rhythm. Okay, so the first half of the chorus is this. Now the second half, we start the exact same, go back up to our starting chord, the D flat, A flat, up to this E flat on the 6, 8, and 8, except our rhythm changes. We just get rid of that tie across the bar line, and we're going to just do straight 8s. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and cut that nice and short. Release the pressure and drop that hand so that it goes 4, and stops. So that measure will sound like this, those 2 measures. Okay, whole chorus really slow. And then we have the outro to talk about. So I'll just quickly play that outro for you, and then we'll get into the solo. So the outro is obviously more of the same old riff that we've been playing, just the very final couple of beats is slightly different. The very final rotation of that riff goes like this. Okay, so the first measure is the same. Now we come up and hit this twice, the D flat, so 6 on A and or 4 on A and 6 on D. Hit that twice, jump back down to the A flat. And there's the end of the song. Cut again, drop that hand, make it nice and quick. And done. Let's do the solo. For obvious reasons, the solo is the most complicated part in this song. We have a new technique that we have to talk about here. We're actually using octaves to start this solo off. Okay, so what we're doing is fretting the 8th fret of the A string with our first finger and the 10th fret of the G string with our pinky. So we have a dead string between them, the D string. Okay, so the first finger really just naturally will mute that D string off. So you want to put your first finger on that A string in such a way that it actually butts up against the low string as well as leans over and mutes off the D string. And then you put your pinky on the 10th fret of the G string. And then your first finger will also be lightly touching those top 2 strings. So if you do this technique right, you should be able to strum through all 6 strings and only hear those 2 notes that you're fretting. And then that way you don't have to be too intricate with your picking. You can just hit all of the strings and it will sound really aggressive. It'll sound like rock and roll. Okay, so if you're new to that technique, it might take you a little while to get it, but you'll get it. Everybody does. So we're just going to start off with that octave up on the 8th and the 10th fret, and we do this rhythm. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and. Okay, and then we're gonna slide down a whole step. And then it's actually gonna slide down another whole step. So we're moving this down in whole steps. Okay, so 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. So on beat 3 and 4, you're gonna slide that octave down in whole steps. Now we slide this back up. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and back up to our starting one. Okay, and then this is probably the trickiest part because we're using all upstrokes here to walk down our octaves. So we're gonna go the 8th and 10th down to the 6th and 8th to 4 and 6 and finish it off on 3 and 5. Now we change to just a single note line here. So we have a really cool pedal point lick at the end there too. But we start with frets 3, 5, and 6 on the G string. Okay, so 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and back to the 5th fret. And then we go up, down, slide up to 8. So those first 2 measures. And then we get up to our pedal point lick where we're going to repeat the 8th fret on the G string twice, come up to the 9th fret on B, back to the G string twice, the 11th fret on B, back to the G string twice, up to the high string on the 8th fret, back to the G string twice, back to the 11th fret on the B string, and then just the G string once, and end it on the 9th fret again on the B string. Okay, so now that we went through all that, those second 2 measures are going to sound like this. Okay, there's the first half of the solo. The second half is the exact same. We start off with those octaves and do the exact same thing. And now the very end of the single note melodic line changes. Okay, so we do away with the pedal point lick here. We start off the same, 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and back to 5. But now we only hit the 3rd fret once, and then we slide up to 8, and hit it again, and then end on the 9th fret of the B string. Now you know how to play American Idiot on guitar. Thanks for checking out this video, guys. I hope that it was really helpful and shed some light on how Billie Joe Armstrong actually performed these parts. Before you go, don't forget to check out a few more of your favorite songs. I have all of them with tab, and I've got loads more coming, so don't forget to like and subscribe so that you see some more content from me, and I'll see you next time.